petroleum fraternity of Trinidad and Tobago, the region, and the world. I have to recognize our UWI alumni, graduates of the UWI who are very special and dear to me. And I know there are many of them in this gathering here this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, let me say that I am truly very delighted to be here this morning to be part of this 5th Geological Conference of the GSDT. I know of the reputation of the GSDT in bringing together key stakeholders to discuss challenges and opportunities facing Trinidad and Tobago and the wider region in the field of geological and geophysical sciences, and especially on matters pertaining to the oil and gas sector. I want to commend the entire GSDT team for promoting, supporting, researching and interrogating such important issues at this level. I want to thank the conference organizers, to Mrs. Telemark, Chair, Dr. Krishna Prasad, my colleagues, Mr. Wayne Bertrand, and all of you for inviting me to deliver some thoughts with you this morning. I'm really pleased to be here, I'll be quite frank with you, because it gives me a chance to connect with the society to which I used to be very much involved. But events over the last several years have distanced me, but this is a time to reconnect in a small way at least. My address is primarily focused on research and development, and as you heard, I have been speaking on this subject for, I don't know, 20, 25 years. And to be quite honest with you, I sometimes ask myself, well, who's listening? Well, you know, if you have a passion for something, you have to stay with it. Someday, some will listen, and we might make the kind of progress, or more progress, than we're making. But I've been around this subject for many, many years, not only as a researcher and a scholar myself, but because of the various entities I led, I'm trying to promote a culture of science and technology and innovation for national and regional development. As you heard, I've been around 40 years at the university in mechanical and agricultural engineering. I've been very passionate about university researchers pursuing research and development work that is impacting and meaningful. I myself have tried in my earlier years to engage in research and creative work that reduces the drudgery of manual labor, particularly in the agricultural sector. I have been a strong proponent of enhancing food security and ensuring that in a challenging environment like Trinidad and Tobago, where you have an industry like the petroleum sector, oil and gas and petrochemicals, that we find creative ways to sustain food production. And that can only happen if we bring science technology into it. I've been saying that for years. But again, I ask who's listening. But that doesn't mean we're not going to stop. So although my own research has not been in the area of geology, I think the philosophical issues and the purpose and the nature of research for development applies across the board. And the primary purpose of all of research, for me, is to transform the lives of people and build strong and sustainable economies. I tell my colleagues at the UWI, your research has to be scholarly, has to be published in the leading journals, referee journals. But that does not mean your research cannot be impacting and touching the lives of ordinary people. And that is what I would want to see occur occur in our country, in our region. And I think if we were to do that, we would really transform our societies. So it's really a great pleasure to be here, to reconnect with the society, as I said, and for me to express some of my thoughts, which I have shared many times before. My first slide is something that was done by a Nobel laureate, Dr. Salam, in physics. I don't want to go through all of this, but what he's really talking about is inequality in our world, where the large majority of success, progress, and wealth is concentrated in the smaller geographical part of the world and concentrated in the smaller fraction of the peoples of this world. So we need to re-engineer this world. And one way of dealing with this is through science and technology. What distinguishes one species of human from the other is the ambition, the power, elan, which basically stems from their differing mastery of present day science and technology. So this is what Salam said in 1983. And I should mention that he spent the latter part of his life traveling to several developing countries, attempting to convince leaders of the need to invest in research through science and technology. Now let me say, some countries have listened, and some countries have truly transformed themselves. I have been, and I may take too much time in the speech and staying away from my text. I had a distinct pleasure 3 weeks ago to visit South Korea. And this was and Seoul in particular, this was a city that was flattened in the war in the 50s and in the early 60s. And in 50 years, I have seen a country and a development that can only be described as spectacular. For me, you read and you hear and you see, but you have to see it yourself to see what a country has achieved in 50 years, what we have achieved in 50 years, what they have done without any single oil and gas resource. The only resource they have is their people. And if you think, we talk about science, technology, innovation, we talk about knowledge societies and all of that. But if you really want to see one, go to Korea. I was completely blown about this city. It is a city of the future. That is what the cities of the future. Go to South Korea, Seoul, and South Korea, completely mind-boggling. So those who have been listening to those countries and investing in their science and technology, in their institutions, in their people, in their research and development, are showing the fruits of that labor. And they're not stopping. South Korea is now from a situation where it used to have it was one of the poorest countries in the world in the 60s. It is now giving aid and supporting developing countries. It's now one of the leading countries in the world and giving back to the globalized, developing and underdeveloped countries. And they've done it really through support of human capital formation, education, and research and development. And they have 4 leading, of course, industries in the world. Samsung, number 1, communications, Hyundai, in automotive. In the banking sector, South Korea Bank, SK, and there's a 4th one that will come to me. But 4 leading enterprises globally, like the top of the world. This is where we need to go. And as we celebrate our 50th anniversary in Trinidad and Tobago, we really need to paint a picture of what is it that we want our country to look like 50 years from now. And once we painted that picture, and we've all agreed that this is what we want to do, we must move towards achieving that relentlessly. Because one of the challenges in our country is every time you want to take one foot forward, there are two people pulling you backwards. Our leaders have to have the guts and courage to move forward. Once we've agreed on a course of action, that is what we must do. You listen, you consider, you reflect, you analyze, but you have to make decisions to move forward. And I think this is what successful countries do. And this is where we need to go. Again, let me get on to my work here. We have all witnessed the tremendous benefits to mankind that has come about through research in the last century. Researchers, through their science, technology, and innovation, have been able to place distance and time in chains. So it's possible for us to have breakfast here in Hilton and probably supper tonight in London. We have also witnessed the revolution in communication. I just spoke with Samsung and what they have done. Our speech or images or text can move in milliseconds around the world through internet at speeds unheard of, unthinkable. And the question you ask yourself, where is this leading? Where are we going to go next? As a result of research, we have experienced vastly improved healthcare. In fact, from the days when we used to speak of infant mortality rates at exceedingly high levels, well, we don't talk about it very much. Because we've all done it so well, and now we're grappling with people living so long. And that is as a result of science and technology and populations that are aging. Science and technology, medicine, the improvement in healthcare. So the world has changed in a dramatic way and will change more. The speed of change is unthinkable where we are. So if we sit back here in Trinidad and be complacent, everybody's going to move on. In the last half of the 20th century and the early part of the 21st century, our possibilities have changed completely. The opportunities, the social issues, the economic issues, how we teach and how we learn are changing daily. I mean, this address that I'm giving you here this morning possibly should get into the guide as I'm speaking, so that my students are also hearing what I'm saying. And that is how we should connect. And the Geological Society should try to connect in this way. We're speaking to a live audience here, but it should be beamed and it should be transmitted so that whatever we're seeing in these conferences go out to a wider population. The next slide, according to UNESCO, this is how they describe research in development work. Increase the stock of knowledge of man, culture, and society, and the use of this stock of knowledge to devise new applications. And I like the last part. And forgive me, it's because I'm an engineer as opposed to a scientist. I like application. I like to see the products of research and development applied. As an academic, I have no difficulties with them in learning journals. But it must not stop there. It must get out into the working environment. Distinguished guests, research therefore on science, technology, and innovation are crucial to economic and social advancement. And research, innovation, science, and technology are all ingredients that will not only determine our survival, but they determine the extent to which we thrive as a nation in the future. So this is where we are, and we have to move on and really develop this culture of research in our country. Now, where do we stand with respect to knowledge, research, development, and creating this kind of environment? Where do we stand today? Some of the most robust measurements of how we are doing with respect to research and development can be measured. For example, expenditure on research and development by a country. The personnel number of people engaged in research and development. The outputs of research, you can measure this. That's how people like me get promoted to professor. How much research have you done? How much published papers you have? How many graduate students did you supervise? How many theses are under your name? How many innovations have you developed? How many patents have been granted to you? All of those things are measurable quantities. And that's how we have to treat with this thing. Measure the input, and then measure the output. So there are a number of countries that do this, and countries have succeeded by expending much more money in research and development than Trinidad and Tobago is doing. And I've been preaching this for a long, long time. Look at the percentages in R&D of of GDP. And you can see Finland 3.5, and that's why those Scandinavian countries have gone on and conquered the world in so many areas of information and communication technology, spending money on research and development. And by the way, this is government's contribution to research and development. In the developed societies, the private sector is investing sometimes twice as much, sometimes twice as much. And I ask my colleagues in the private sector here, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, how much money are you investing in research and development in Trinidad and Tobago in your own enterprise? This is government contribution, poor as it is, point one. How much are you investing? In societies that are progressing, the private sector is outstripping government's contribution. Do you think Samsung is waiting on the government of South Korea to help them with research? I'm sorry, no. They're creating their own institutions. They're building their own universities to support research, development, and human resource development. This is how they meet the world. We need to press on here, do much more. Next slide, please. The numbers of researchers engaged in research and development. Research and development per million people, and you can see some of the data. Well, this is a little bit old and dated. This came out of the science and technology report that I wrote. Time didn't permit me to go on to research. Just to do all kinds of other things. But nevertheless, you can't company number in Trinidad. Now, this is a challenge for a country like ours. We have a very small population, 1.2 million. How are we going to make a difference in such a small population? One of the things I want to put to all of you is, although we are a nation 50 years old, we must never forget the possibilities of a nation within a strong region. And this is something that the University of West Indies has shown, that it can strive to become an institution of global review by taking on a regional dimension. Many of the research and development issues of our country are not unique to Trinidad. They are the same issues in Jamaica or Barbados, whether it's crime, whether it's poverty, whether it's tourism. There may be niches like in Trinidad and Tobago, oil and gas. But so are countries like Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, and even Barbados. Can we find more gas? Can we find more oil? So a regional perspective might help us to build our capacity for research and development. I can talk more on this, but let's move on. The numbers of students in our universities engaged on tertiary institutions in science, engineering, manufacturing, construction, more technology and engineering. And again, Trinidad is not doing badly here. We're doing as well as many other countries developing and developing economies. We're doing reasonably well here. What we probably need to do, enhance the quality of the output. We're doing reasonably well here. And let me show you the next slide. And one of the things that is in the Dustin campus of the University of West Indies that I'm working very hard to protect is to ensure we have this mix, 50-50 mix of those engaged in science and technology. For example, science, we have a faculty of medicine, engineering, we now have a new faculty of science and technology, we now have a new faculty of science and agriculture. We're keeping these as very, very special. And so we have close to a 50-50 mix. I want to keep it there. Now, I don't have to tell you what has happened in Jamaica. Jamaica is like 75% people in social sciences and 25% in the sciences. We cannot allow this to slip. Well, we can't do it alone at UWI. If you look at the statistics of how our students are doing in mathematics at CXC and at CAPE, you will realize we have a great challenge here. Great, great challenge. Not too many students are getting the prerequisites in mathematics at CXC and especially at CAPE to enter some of these professions and to succeed. So we have to look at the educational system as a whole. If we're going to build this capability in science and technology, and if we're going to build the interest in this subject and continue to succeed here. So we have work to do here, but I just wanted to show you that we're trying to protect this profile and enhance it if we can. Next slide, please. And last night I pulled this up from the internet. I'm a little bit, looking at it very, very quickly. The intensity of our research can be measured by the publications that are coming out of countries. Papers in scholarly journals, and there is a whole proliferation of these journals. Many times more now with the internet. So people are publishing left, right, and center. And some countries, you can see like the United States, 5 million publications a year. And you can see the amount that are cited. But look at Trinidad and Tobago, 2,812, and I'm sure that if you were to check that, almost all of that is from undergrad professors. But we need to do more. But we're a small country also. How do we enhance this? This publication rate can tell you about the intensity of research in a country. And look at Korea, for example, South Korea, how they're doing. China, look how they're doing. So we have work to do, my friends, but we have to think this through because of the smallness of our size. Now, one of the things that I also discovered about South Korea over the last 50 years, they have sent so many of their students to the United States. One thing about the South Koreans, they love everything American. You just have to go into Seoul and you see all the American shops. They just love America and be very supportive of them. Very supportive in difficult times. And they continue to support them because they're threatened by the North. So, but they have built a good relationship with the United States. They take great pride in telling you the numbers of professors they have recruited who are Koreans who are being trained in the United States at the Ivy League schools. They have invested heavily in this. They continue to have invest in this. And the other thing that they have done successfully is to build the links with the diaspora. South Koreans, there are hundreds and thousands of them in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, around the world, encouraging them, bringing them back home. That is something we also have to do in this part. There are West Indians all over the diaspora. We have to create the conditions to bring them back home. Now, this takes thoughtfulness, but it takes more, it takes courage and the will to do it. That is how we can help transform some of this. Let's move on. So, number of patents, I don't even have to talk to you. Look where Trinidad and Tobago are. We really do not have this system working for creativity to get out of the patent. We need much more. Let me press ahead. And then, colleagues, we have heard about our global competitiveness. All of these things are linked to research, development, science, technology, innovation, life, the quality of life, etc. And there we are in terms of our global competitiveness index rank, 81 in the world. Granted, there seems to be some movement from 84. But I remember 10 years ago we were 60. We were about 60, 62 in the world. So we really slipped. We're trying to make a comeback here. Next slide, please. Innovation and sophistication factors. Trinidad and Tobago is 76 in the world. Next slide, please. Higher education and training. We're doing much better. 64 in the world. Go ahead. Technological readiness. 52. This is some of the rankings that are coming out from the World Economic Forum. Number 52. Next slide, please. On innovation, 86 in the world, and innovation will have to be fueled by strong research and development efforts. If you're going to make it sustainable, it has to be fueled there. So you can see how much work there is to be done. Next slide, please. So the way forward, we have to invest in science and technology. And this is coming from my Vice Chancellor, Professor Eni General Harris, who's a medic. If we do not invest in science and technology, we shall not cross the ramparts into the field of sustainable development. And we even run the risk of perishing in the trenches of underdevelopment. And we've seen that in some parts of the Caribbean, not in Trinidad, but we've seen that in some parts of the Caribbean. It's there, it's a reality. Just go down south a little bit and you'll see countries with vast potential. but they're mired in the trenches of underdevelopment. Why? Investment in your people, investment in research, having a clear vision of where you want to take your country. Those are some prerequisites. Otherwise, you stay where you are, and the world overtakes you, so you're going backwards. So one way is for us to have many more trained professionals to conduct research in the area of science and technology. More PhDs. We've got to produce more PhDs in Trinidad and Tobago. We do not have to do them in UWI at all, not all of them, some of them in areas where we are strong. But you do like other countries. Send them away to centers of excellence in the world and create the environments at home to bring them back. You don't have to reinvent this wheel. There are all kinds of great institutions in the world that we can send some of our students to do their PhDs. And many are going, I think. The question that is asked, how many are coming back? We've got to change that around, or otherwise our fortunes will not be changed. I would also like to see many more come and UWI to do PhDs in areas where we have strengths. That is something that is how you build your capacity. We can't send everybody away. We have to build our capacity home. But I'm saying it must not be exclusively to the West. We've got to get our students and expose them to the world and to develop a big vision and a culture of research. Let me say to all of you, when I was doing my research, research is 24 hours, 7 days a week. You just get locked into this thing and you just focused in it. You have a passion for it. Research is not 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. No, sorry. I told my staff members that when I welcomed them, the new ones last week, that if this is what you're coming to UWI for, I think you're in the wrong place. You've got to be immersed in your research. I'm talking to young people here. If you want to change the world through your R&D, you've got to get immersed in it. And this is when you go to good research centers. You just feel the vibe. Labs open 24 hours. People working, busy, writing, publishing. That is the kind of environment I truly want to create in UWI. And I need some vibrant young people to help me do this with good mentors and supervisors. So we need that. We need to improve the investment and funding of impacting R&D. We must make investments in research in order for us to thrive and grow. And these investments must not only come from the government. And I appeal to the private sector. You know, I say to the private sector, and many of them have been wonderful beneficiaries to the UWI, and many of you are here. Many of you have given me checks for about $2 million. You've given me chairs, you've given me this. I accept that wholeheartedly, with a great deal of thanks. We need that. We need more of that. But I also want the industry to challenge the UWI on its research. Work with them to formulate the research proposals and help them support the effort to get it done. I want you to get engaged. Not to just give the money and stay away. Get engaged. And we have seen in petroleum engineering and in geosciences of progress that is made differently when the industry gets engaged with UWI to achieve mutually beneficial goals. We have success stories to tell. We do not want a disengaged private sector. We want an engaged private sector for human development, training, as well as for research, development, innovation, and creativity that impacts in the world out there. Now, there are some who may say, oh, Trinidad and Tobago in a challenging environment, this is not the time to put money. But I'm saying I have to disagree. Research is important to enhance our future quality of life. However, the research must be focused, directed, brought to life. Now, we cannot be good at everything, and that's the other story here with research. We cannot be good in every single area. We have to create the niches for our research that will bring meaningful value to our country and support that. We're going to have to agree on some of this. Now, in an academic environment, it's very difficult to get agreement on what is the most important research. Because every member of staff who has a PhD is the most important research in the world. And that is understandably so. Having said that, you still have to harness them and say, well, these are the ones we will throw the most money on. All right? And you have to find a way to keep the rest also happy. So we've got to invest, and we've got to do this and make this happen very quickly. Now, in slide 16, I really like what is happening in the United States and what President Obama said. Leaders all over the world are recognizing the importance of investing in research and development. And there's no better example than President Obama. And in addressing the National Academy of Sciences annual meeting, not so long ago after his appointment, is what he said. We will devote more than 3% of our GDP to research and development. We will invest in basic and applied research. Create new incentives for private innovation. This is something I've written about. Creating incentives for the private sector to get engaged in research. You've got to create incentives. And in the Vision 2020 report that I did, all kinds of suggestions were made based on what other countries have done about how to bring the private sector into this field. We've got to promote breakthroughs in energy and medicine. And you see what he said about maths and science. And improve education in math and science, because America is going through the same challenges that we are going through. Math and science. Not enough of our young people are engaged. Now, you're not going to have a culture of science, technology, and innovation if these young people are staying away from these fundamentals. So this is President Obama, and I do support him. And what this says, what he has done for America is commit the largest amount of money in American history for research. And this speaks volume for where America wants. Now, just some ideas here. I have some experiences. I know this is an oil and gas, petroleum geoscientist, geologist. I would like to thank the oil and gas industry in Trinidad and Tobago for actively supporting and sponsoring studies in the area of petroleum at the University of St. Augustine campus. As you know, I was dean, I was head of mechanical, and I was there at the time in 2000 when we did some wonderful things. We had our major sponsors like DPTG, CLICO, TTMS, Trinidad and Tobago, Methanol, Petrotrin, GSTT, SB, the Society for Petroleum Engineering, the Ministry of Energy, EOG, Repsol, Centrica, Schlumberger, Landmark, Baker Hughes, Tucker, Nico Resources. All of these and their other small producers must be commended for their financial support and for the opportunities they provide. Not all of them money, but this latter part is very important. Opportunities they provide for internship, mentoring of our students, scholarships, bursaries for research, external examiners. When I was being there, we brought in external examiners from the industry because we wanted our work in petroleum and in geosciences to be relevant. And I'm looking, I'll be honest with you, as principal, I'm looking for a few people from the industry who have academic inclination to join us at the university in the area of petroleum geosciences, in the area of petroleum engineering. So any one of you, spread the word, send your CV to the principal. There's a great opportunity for you to give back and to train young people in some of the techniques of the profession, as opposed to only an academic dispensation. So I'm looking for some of you, and we had some of these before, and I really need the support of the industry to help you with some of the human resources. And I know these are scarce resources, but you have to have this partnership. Otherwise, we will produce the wrong people for you. If you want us to produce the right people for you, help us do it. Give us some of your people to make this happen. So thanks for all that you've done. However, we are a small country when compared to countries such as the United States, Canada, and China. And so, as we look to investment in our human resource development, in our research, we've got to think wisely of this. We've got to think of what are the areas we're going to put this money in. I'll move to the next slide. Move on there, Karen. Just to say a little bit on, if I move on, because I know time is here, of how we can contribute a little bit more. In Trinidad and Tobago, our campus has for over 5 decades been engaged in relevant and impacting research in a wide range of disciplines. tropical agriculture, and by the way, we just recreated the faculty of food and agriculture, to engineering and the environment, and we just created a new faculty of science and technology. All of this from the 1st of August this year, trying to create focus on the campus in some of these areas. We have done work in humanities, culture and arts, industries, education, social sciences, and yes, starting the 1st of August this year, we created a new faculty of law. So we now have our own faculty of law at St. Augustine. And we have students in year 3. And 2 years from now, I expect that we will have a flagship faculty in the South Campus in Pinal de Bay, something that you and me and all of us will be very proud about. But development doesn't come easy. In principle, I have to go through all kinds of challenges. But I'm committed to doing this. This is how you build a country. Take the decision and move on. Take the heat, move on. Right? So I'm saying that's how we're going to progress. We can't progress by only having ideas that we can't develop. You must make your ideas come to life. And this is what engineers are about. Creating ideas, thinking it through, and bringing them to life. In keeping with this conference, I am pleased to note here how our Faculty of Engineering has contributed so significantly to the vibrancy of the industrial, manufacturing, and construction sectors. Our Petroleum Studies Unit has been very instrumental in the oil and gas sector. And one of a group of our scholars have said very recently that over 400 students have graduated from various programs in petroleum engineering, petroleum geosciences. Time, right? Yeah. So we have done very well here. We have done that through your help. And I want you all to continue to support us. In fact, the data shows that today, more than 85% of the petroleum engineers are locals, Trinidad and Tobago nationals, who would have passed through many of them from the University of West Indies. Then the petroleum geoscience program. That began in the first year. The idea began in the first year of my teaching. And it began in a simple conversation by my late good colleague, Trevor Booksby. And we should have said, how can we build geologists who meet the needs of our petroleum sector? Because there were some opposed to this. Oh, we have geology at Mona. I said, that is geology at Mona. We want petroleum geosciences. We want geologists trained in an environment of the industry. And that industry is here. That's how we got it here. That's how I got my Mona colleagues to back away. It took some effort, but it took out. The support of the industry was wonderful. Helping the university develop this program and doing it very rapidly. So we've done quite a bit, but we want to do more. But I need your help to ensure that this happens. Just a few other points. I think I have been looking at some of the challenges and opportunities in the oil and gas sector. I looked at how we were doing in oil and gas, and particularly gas, and how well we've done in the past. But there are some challenges ahead. Where I see some challenges is with the development of the gas sector in the United States, shale gas. And this therefore has the potential to impact us negatively, both in terms of demand and in terms of pricing. We need to be concerned. So what I'm suggesting is through research, development, rate studies with the university and other entities, we need to look at new markets for our gas. We need to look at deepening the value added to our gas, for example, polymers. We need to use our gas more effectively in our own country, manufacturing industries, electricity, transportation, and it has other beneficial effects. The environment, for example. If we're producing natural gas, we should try to use it more and use it more extensively. We should lead by example. We shouldn't ask other countries to be using it and we ourselves are not using it. We need to deepen the use of our own gas and deepen the value added. I also am a strong regionalist. We need to look at how we can tap those markets in the region with our own gas. And I've been reading something about Jamaica wanting to buy gas from elsewhere. Well, we should sell at preferential rates. We shouldn't give it away. We should make a profit. but we should use and leverage our position in the region to ensure we tie up those markets, because our destiny is within this region. I am one of those who always have been a strong believer in some regional industries. And I say to all of you, we should not be shipping bauxite from the countries of this region, digging up our earth and sending it away for somebody else to make aluminum and aluminum. That is a mindless effort today that you're shipping your earth out. We should be finding the ways and means to using the bauxite, the alumina from Jamaica, from Guyana, from Suriname, and the energy of Trinidad and Tobago to help produce aluminum. No. And Trinidad and Tobago, with its expertise in manufacturing, with its great energy assets, should be looking at how we can intensify downstream aluminum manufacturing. We can't do it alone. If we think we're going to do all of these things alone, I'm sorry, we won't build. We've got to build through partnerships and alliances, and we should develop some regional industries surrounding our oil and our gas. We need to create it. We need to be creative. But oil and gas are depleting assets. We also need to consider carefully in this mix how we put some away for future generations. So colleagues, as I come to an end, we ourselves at UNRI have been trying to focus our research. We have 6 thematic areas: climate change and environmental issues, crime, violence and citizen security, economic diversification and sector competitiveness, finance and entrepreneurship, public health, technology and society. 6 thematic areas, and I want the private sector to join with our university researchers in supporting those 6 areas of research. I also want to show to you that we really need to build an innovation system in our country. A system where we create new value-added goods and services, we invest in trained people, we encourage businesses to innovate and research, we create new job opportunities for research, science, technology workers, and workers in general, and we create a virtuous circle where knowledge feeds innovation, which creates a thirst for new knowledge and its application. Next slide, please. And this is typically the old-fashioned way of thinking about innovation. That you have researchers doing their work in the labs at the university, and somehow, and through some means, it will find its way into industry. Well, that is luck and chance. It doesn't work this way, my friends. This is an old-fashioned way. It gives the researchers great latitude in their labs to do all kinds of exploratory things. We want to support some of that. But where I want to go is a more directed form of research, where you can have a partnership, you build a system, where research and development is through a system of support from business, industry, and financial system, our HR training institutions, our research institutions. We're working in a partnership, and the government becomes more or less a supporter and a director. We need somebody to conduct this. We need to build an innovation system to bring all of these things together. Our business firms, our financial system, our government providing vision and forecasting, funding, etc. Well, let us do the work. Our educational system, we need to build this. We need to build a network. We need to conduct it. What we need to do is to conduct this system like conducting an orchestra, putting all the pieces together and making a beautiful noise. We have a lot of the pieces. The question is, who's conducting it? So, as I close, colleagues, applied research is research directed primarily towards a specific practical aim or objective. That is UNESCO's definition. That is what I subscribe to. And in closing, I want to thank the Geological Society, in particular Chairman Krishna Prasad, for inviting me to address this distinguished audience. I sincerely hope in this rather rushed presentation, some of the ideas and thoughts I've shared with you this morning will stimulate further discussion on how Trinidad and Tobago, and yes, the Caribbean, can move towards a research and development culture, not just to survive in a world driven by knowledge, but to thrive, to prosper, to lead, and that we ourselves aim to become a developed society. I thank you very much.